Welcome back, everybody. In this series, we'll try to analyze the downfall of a few of the teams that got eliminated. So, starting with the Oilers, why did they lose to the Vegas Golden Knights when they had a powerhouse team? Everybody thought they would advance, they would beat the Golden Knights in 6 or 7, some even thought they'd beat them in 5. But end up what? They lose in 6 against the Golden Knights. They only win 2, they couldn't get the series tied in Game 6 at home, and their season is over just like that. So, what are the 5 major factors that cause them to fail, that cause this defeat? Let's take a look at them now. Number 5, too undisciplined. This issue was a huge factor in the Oilers' demise. They simply took away too many penalties in all those losing games. They were sitting in the penalty box all the time, and the PK was not doing the job. It was just bad. But guess what? They still kept taking penalties, and stupid, careless penalties, like offensive zone high stickings or offensive zone cross checks. And some, of course, were from the Zebras, gifts to the Golden Knights. Non-calls or made calls. For example, the Philip Broberg one. The holding call that was made from 100 feet away by the referee standing in center ice. And so on and so forth. I think you all know which calls I'm talking about. And also that stupid boneheaded mistake by Nurse to pick a fight at the end of the winning game that caused himself to get suspended for the next game, which played a major factor in the lineup changes and what happened in the events of Game 5. Anyhow, we'll get into more details of this issue later. I'm not sure how the coaches tried to get their message across to them to take less penalties, or don't take stupid penalties at least. But I guess they didn't get the message. They didn't improve in the PK, and they knew their PK was bad. I'm not sure why, but it just didn't get any better throughout the season. The PK of a few years ago was pretty good. Last year was okay, but this year, I don't know. If you put Darnell Nurse on the PK, it's a bad idea. Trust me, if you watch those replays of all the games he plays on the PK, 50% or more of those go in. Why? Because he doesn't mark the right man, plays the wrong position, and all he does is stand 1 feet right in front of Skinner or wherever the goalie is, block his view, or else he's the target of some rebound or a deflection off his skate or foot or whatever, and it goes in. This $9 million defender is worth nothing on the PK, or defensively either. We'll get into more of this later too. So taking all these penalties, good or bad, was a major factor in putting the Oilers behind in the score. Even in winning games when they were leading, once they got on the penalty kill, they couldn't kill it off, and then sometimes there was sequential goals, 2, 3, and before you know it, in a few minutes, they're losing by 2 or 3 goals. And then they can't catch up, and there's the end of the game. Number 4, too many passengers, especially the $5 million men. They were complete no-shows. Who am I talking about? Zach Hyman, Evander Kane, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, the Nuge, who had 104 points in the regular season, breaking all his personal best records. And what does he do in the playoffs? Nothing. He was I don't know where he went. He got 1 goal after 10 or 11 games. He finally gets 1 goal and then he puts it away again. $3 million man, Yamamoto, same thing. 1 goal. He made some good forechecks, but still, he was nothing like as a top 6 forward getting all the opportunities. He barely finished any of them. The 1 goal he scored was kind of fluky because he just turned on, whipped at the net against LA, and then it went in off a bounce or something. All the other ones he couldn't finish. And meanwhile, look at this guy, Clem Costin, 750k cap hit, bottom line guy, and he scored 3 goals and 2 assists in his first playoff season. Because if he didn't score 2 goals in one of those games against LA, Oilers would not have been able to catch up. They probably lost that series too. So he scored 3 goals, 2 assists, which is much more than Yamamoto. And he makes 4 times less money. He also hits harder, throws huge hits. This guy is capable. But against Las Vegas, he wasn't as effective, but same with the entire team. So if we had more of these bottom guys, or even the top 6 guys, the top 4 of the top 6 guys, if they produced at the rate of this guy, as a bottom liner, I think the series would have been different. So let's take a look at the stats of these $5 million men, what had happened to them, and what they produced this year in the playoffs. So first off, let's talk about Zach Hyman, number 18. Last year in the playoffs, he was a force. Watching him play against the Flames in the second round, holy, did he ever do some damage. Played 16 games in total, scored 11 goals, 5 assists with 16 points to end the season, or the postseason, plus 4. This year, played 12 games, only 3 goals. One of those went off his head. That was a fluke. So basically, he only scored 2 goals in 12 playoff games with his stick, and 8 assists. So he got 11 points in total. But his presence, big difference from last year. Last year he was flying around, banging up people, shooting and scoring. Just look at last year's shooting percentage. He took 67 shots and he got 16.4% of those in. This year he got 46 shots and he got 6.5% in. 10% shooting difference. That's huge. So there goes one of your main attackers, top producers, 80-something points in regular season. But I don't know what happened to him. He got banged up or something. Maybe because in the exit interviews he kind of mentioned he's banged up or something, wasn't feeling right. We don't need him to tell us, we can tell. That's not the regular Zach Hyman. Let's just hope next year he's not like this again. So looking back at his last 5 games in these playoffs, Game 6, no goals, no assists, no points, no plus minus, zip. Just like how he performed in the whole series, zip. Game 5, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points. Game 4, zip, 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 plus 1. Game 3, zip, 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 no goals, nothing, -1. And finally, Game 2, he gets 3 apples. That game was probably the game he got the most points in. So that's his report card. Nothing to be spectacularly wowed about. Quite disappointing, actually. So if this guy's performance kind of was anything like last year's, I don't think the Oilers season would have ended so quickly. He was supposed to be the second wave of scoring, or even the first wave of scoring, because he kept playing on the first line with Connor McDavid or Draisaitl, but he couldn't score, so that's a huge problem. Next up, Mr. Evander Kane. Kane last year was like an MVP in the playoffs. Despite only playing 15 games, he was the top goal scorer of the playoffs, tied with Nathan McKinnon, scoring a total of 13 goals and 4 assists for 17 points in this off-season. This year, I think his wrist injury was probably a major factor, because he became a non-factor in the playoffs. And in the regular season, he really never got back, it looked like. Even when he came back after that 3-month rest, he could charge and fight, but whenever he got the puck, he kind of looked different from before. He couldn't really control the puck. Passes weren't crisp. When he shot, his shot, usually when you see him shoot the puck, he finishes. He's got a high chance to score. This year, not so much. Maybe something wrong with his wrist really affecting his shot. Maybe he's not 100%. I think he's not 100% for sure. Anyhow, this year's 12 games in the playoffs, he managed a total of 3 goals and 2 assists for 5 points and a -3. Shooting percentage went from 22.8% from last year to 7.9% only this year. Ouch. So again, one more secondary top-end player that's supposed to be scoring, not scoring. So that's 2 of them. 2 major weapons that had no effect in the playoffs. And playing against Vegas, his last 5 games, he got an assist in Game 6 for 1 point. No goals, no assists, no points in Game 5. Same thing in game 4, same thing in game 3, same thing in game 2. Man, that's a horrid report card for the Vegas series. He had basically no effect against them. He was a non-factor. Only 1 assist in the last 5 games in the playoffs. When last year he scored 13 goals. And what? How many hat tricks he got? 2? Yeah, he got 2 hat tricks in the playoffs. So this year, I don't know. I hope it's just his wrist injury is not well recovered yet. And next year, maybe after 3 or 4 months of rest and rehab and more training, hopefully he gets a full regular season, which he's supposed to get like 80 to 90 points in, as projected, because he got 40 something points in a matter of 3 or 4 months last year when he first joined the Oilers. So let's hope we get that version of the Evander Kane and not the hurt one. Next in line, Mr. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. Oh, this was surprisingly bad. He was such a high performance guy in the regular season this year. He broke all his personal bests. He was the third 100-point man on the team. This has never happened in NHL for such a long time. 300-point players on one team. And this was supposed to bring the Edmonton Oilers over the top in the playoffs. Because when you got like 300-point players plus an 80-something point player in Hyman, you got like 4 major dudes in your top 6 lineup. You're supposed to score at will. You're supposed to be able to dominate. But what happened? One of the major secondary guys that's supposed to be supportive of McDavid and Draisaitl played rather bad again. In 12 games this year, he managed one stinking goal. That was on a power play. This guy's a sniper. He made so many nice shots in regular season, scored quite a lot of goals. And in the playoffs, he managed one goal and 10 assists. Those probably came from the power play as well, like maybe a secondary assist. Because you couldn't really notice him. He didn't make really good plays. It wasn't sneaky as usual. He just kind of touched the puck and then it went into the other end zone and then he was gone. And then what? He ends up -6. -6 in these playoffs. With a 4.3% shooting at percent. 4.3% shooting. 17.1 last year. 4% this year. 4 times less. So that is a huge impact. If these 3 guys, Hyman, Kane, Nuge, if they put in the same or near the same performance, had the same numbers as last year's playoff, Vegas would probably have been done in 5 or 6. The series wouldn't be like this. They lost the last 2 games by 2 goals, 1 goal. Like, these 3 guys were supposed to score. Combined, they had 120 minutes times 3. 360 minutes for these guys to score 2 to 3 extra goals and would have made a difference. And they did not do it. They could not score 2 to 3 goals with 360 minutes of hockey played. Well, for the whole team. Not for each guy, but like still, like that's a lot of time to score, and they haven't scored. Nuge in the last 5 games, game 6, no goals, no assists. Game 5, got 3 assists, but they still lost. Game 4, he finally scores that power play goal, 1 goal, 1 assist. Game 3, zip, and a -2. And then game 2, he gets 2 apples. So not a very good performance. And as I said, all 3 guys, if they played like even half the level they played last year, I'm sure the outcome of this series, this round 2 series against the Vegas Golden Knights, would have been should have been different. Because they lost like the last 2 games by 1 and 2 goals. If these guys put their A game in, 1 or 2 goals is easy as cake, eh? But they couldn't do it. I don't know why. Oh, nor could Draisaitl in Game 6. But he had a bad game. Bad game. But I'm not going to pick on Draisaitl for that game. He played lights out against the LA Kings. He was the winning factor for the Oilers because McDavid wasn't really very effective against the Kings, I guess. Maybe they kind of hone in on him, couldn't let him skate, couldn't let him score. But Draisaitl was able to do it, came to the rescue, he carried the team and put them over the top, and then they were able to win the series against the Kings. But against Vegas, in the first few games, he was pretty good. But then last 2 or 3, it died off or something. I don't know what happened to him. But I think that's part of coaching decisions. So we'll talk about that in the next topic. So this brings us to the next topic. Item 3. The coach. Woodcroft. Last year, he seemed to be a savior. This year, he might be on the hot seat. Maybe that's only in my opinion, but I think he didn't coach very well in these playoffs. He was kind of stubborn, in my opinion. So, I think his strategies were kind of wrong against Vegas. Maybe against LA it worked, but not against Vegas. That dump and chase game wasn't too effective, except for like game 4, when you see them really thumping and bumping the Vegas guys. That was effective. But maybe they hurt themselves during that run too. Maybe they pounded them too hard and hurt themselves. Because in game 5 and 6, they showed none of that. Something that worked, they didn't repeat. I don't know if they were so dominant in game 4. I thought, you watch them. They pounded the Vegas guys so hard that Pietrangelo had to throw a fit and whack Draisaitl at the end of this with a huge high stick. Mark Stone was pounded in the back. I mean, that was kind of cheap by Yamo, but that's the game. He had the puck, he's trying to score. Oilers get hit like that too. They don't get called. That's the game. You got the puck. You're bound to get hit. So I don't know why they didn't repeat that in game 5. I was looking forward to same strategy, same thump and bump and whack those guys out, and then they could probably win the series. But then, they didn't do it. That dominance was missing. I mean, they won game 2 with a pretty good score too, but in game 4 they dominated. Vegas had no answer. You couldn't see them do anything. There was no zone time, no offense, nothing. They only scored 1 goal at near the end of the game. I don't know why they just didn't use the same recipe. Is it really, as I said at the beginning, they kind of hurt themselves too while thumping the other guys? Anyways, I think Woodcroft should have seen that his dump and chase strategy wasn't working in other games. They couldn't get the forecheck going, and when they had the puck in the ozone, they passed too much. They didn't shoot. They wasted all the ozone time when they were trailing, passing, and then guess what? Some Vegas stick gets in the way, and the puck is out of the zone, and they just wasted a minute and a half. Then they got to set it up all over again and repeat the same thing, passing. Maybe they take a shot, but it's too slow. It's blocked. Doesn't even get to the goalie. And then these chances are just wasted. They're just wasting their own energy doing this stuff in the O-zone. And then when they go back to the D-zone, they're kind of exhausted. They're in the wrong positions. They can't battle. They never win more battles. So I don't know why the coach did not address these issues. Maybe they did. Maybe he did. But they didn't carry it out. They didn't execute it. And then in game 6, the final do-or-die game, he kind of goes to this matchup thing. He has to play McLeod against the William Karlsson line. Ryan McLeod against William Karlsson every minute. He was so stubborn to keep this matchup throughout the entire game. This actually kind of limited Connor McDavid's ice time and threw him kind of off course. Vegas kept throwing the William Karlsson line over. Maybe they caught notice of this. And then the Ryan McLeod line will go out. McDavid has to sit. So he's sitting and if you're sitting and you're a top end player, it's not very good for that, what do you call it, adrenaline. You kind of lose that rush, that touch. And after the first minute when he got that nice goal, take the lead, tie it up 1-1, kind of went missing afterwards. He was quite invisible afterwards. So he played 1 minute and then 59 minutes wasn't effective. I don't know because he was sitting too long, or like, I don't know, was disinterested. Then one of the downfalls of the series of this game, Draisaitl, Leon Draisaitl line against Jack Eichel line, which killed them. This was a huge mistake. I don't know, Draisaitl's probably a bit slow or something, or maybe he's tired, but their line kept losing the puck to the Eichel line, then resulting in all 3 goals by Jonathan Marchessault are scored against his line. I mean, you can blame Nurse for sure. We'll talk about that later. But Draisaitl, when he got that puck stolen from him, that was ugly. And then, most important of all, I think he really started the wrong goalie. He kept giving all the starts to Skinner, the rookie, and he didn't really play so well in all 12 games. Like, he was good in regular season. He was supposed to play 30-something games in regular season, ended up playing 50-something. He was a all-star player, played an all-star game, Calder finalist for Rookie of the Year. Now him winning that award might be in question. But he was pulled 3 times against the Vegas Golden Knights. Like, prior to Game 6, he was pulled twice already because he couldn't make saves. Game 5, you watch his performance. Those goals, he let in 4 goals. At least 2 or 3 of them could have been savable. Just like the New Jersey and Carolina series, you know, Lindy Ruff kept pulling Schmid. Let the young guy Schmid take the start, and then he let in 4 or 3 in one period, and then he pulled him and put Banachek in. The next game he puts him back in. You know, didn't end well, and then they get eliminated. So I'm not really sure why Woodcroft put so much trust into his rookie goalie, that he thinks he can bring them all the way to the Stanley Cup finals or win the cup. I mean, it's do or die game. The window for the Oilers to win is now. Draisaitl and McDavid, they got like 2 or 3 years left in the contract. Why would you take such a big risk to put in Skinner? Put in Skinner that hasn't been performing well versus Jack Campbell, which came in relief for 3 games and played lights out. I mean, he was bad in the regular season. He didn't really make good saves. He was shaky. You know, you could worry about that. But look, he had a good record in his playoff years. So I think we'll have to dive into this topic as number 2, the goaltending, which is the second most important thing that led to the Oilers' downfall in this playoff run. So, reason 2, goaltending. I'm not sure if Woodcroft got any advice regarding starter stats in these playoffs or in this series, but it's not good news. Look at these numbers. They're horrid for playoff stats, and no team will be able to win a Stanley Cup, let alone win a second or third round series, with these subpar, like sub 900 save percentages. If you go back and search for hockey stats, I don't think any winning team had these type of numbers for winning goalie. That's impossible to win. You're letting everything in. You're letting way too many goals in. Scored 3 or 4 goals, which should be enough to win in a playoff game. You're gone. The other team scores 5. In addition, Skinner's performance throughout the 12 games never even said wow to me. He was very mediocre for all the games. Even against LA. Some games were like, oh my god, what's he doing? And that game that Jack Campbell came in relief kind of really saved the series and let them play another round. Because it was 3-0 after the first period. The games that he did win, it wasn't really his work too. He didn't play that well. It was the guys in front of him that played well. They were dominating. They didn't let the other team have any ozone time. If there were shots, the shots were from the outside, from the perimeter, nothing A grade, not very dangerous chances. So you're supposed to save those. But then when the guys didn't play good in front of him, he was a mess. Meanwhile, Jack Campbell, although he really, as I said, he played very bad in regular season. For that $5 million contract he signed, he was a failure. But he did make many great saves, and especially as mentioned, that game 4 against the Kings when he came in relief after 3-0 in the first period. and then he made that spectacular save against the Victor Arvidsson breakaway. That was a game and series saver. If he let that goal in, that game was lost. If that game was lost, they'd be down 3-1 in the series and probably not even making the second round. So in the short minutes in relief, Campbell posted way superior numbers. Look, he had a save percentage of like .950 before coming into the relief game in Game 6 versus Vegas. Why didn't Woodcroft play him? Why didn't he give him a chance? Like, if you watch a lot of podcasts or listen to other people, all the radio guys, they all said Campbell should have started in Game 6. He should have been given a chance. Why? Even if he's a question mark, it's a clear answer that Skinner is not the guy. When you have a 100% answer that tells you Skinner is not the guy, he is not the suitable guy against Vegas, you let the other guy play. You don't take this risk and start the same guy that has already lost you 5 games in this series and you're facing elimination. In my opinion, Skinner proved he was not the right guy to be put up against the Vegas Knights. Perhaps Vegas already had seen his weaknesses and figured them out, so why not put a new guy in that Vegas had barely faced in Campbell and Jack Campbell, where his career stats are 6-1 against Vegas. This guy's won 6 out of 7 times against Vegas. You think he'd maybe have a little clue against how to play them? Or maybe Vegas can't solve Campbell because their size are different, or maybe their stances are different. Maybe Campbell gives him less angle to shoot at. Why not give him a chance? Don't these numbers tell you something, coach? Why do you lean so heavily on Skinner when you clearly know he's not the guy? Game 5 was his last chance. If he won, okay, you let him start Game 6, but he lost. He lost by quite a good margin too. This is just like last year's conference finals against the Avs. You got Mike Smith, 41-year-old, playing 2 rounds already, nearly every game. And you start him again in a do-or-die game, game number 4 against the Avalanche, when you're already blown the first 3 games. You're 3-0 in the series. One more game, you're gone. And then they did lose. I mean, they lost 75% of the series already. And then you start the same guy that lost to the 75% of the series. Why didn't he just give Mikko Koskinen a chance? Koskinen's bigger. Maybe the Avs can't figure him out because he's covering more of the net. They have to shoot at different angles. Maybe they shoot wide. Maybe it hits more crossbars. Why don't you try that? Why you play the guy that lost you already 3/4 of your series? And same thing here. Skinner already lost you 3/4 of the series and you still play him. Did you ever think about fatigue might be an issue? Like, you start 11 games before this Game 6, he was yanked twice in the last 3 games. Do you think you have any second guesses regarding his physical and mental capabilities to be able to hold the fort in an elimination game against the Vegas Golden Knights, the team that was above you in the standings? They finished 4th overall in the whole entire NHL. Skinner is just a rookie. This is his first year playing in the NHL. He's barely played enough NHL games. How can you depend on this unproven rookie to guide your team to success? Man, I'm no coach, but this is just common reasoning and common math and common sense. It all adds up that it's time to start Campbell, not play your losing goalie. But he chose not to. And guess what? Right off the bat in Game 6, in the first 30 seconds of the game, he makes a bad play, takes too much time behind the net thinking where he should pass to. The Vegas guys are all over him. He makes a weak pass out to Ekholm. Ekholm kind of pops it out in the middle of the ice and bam, it's in the net. 20-something seconds into the first period and the crowd is shut up. That is not a good start. Your team's confidence should have been down the drain by that moment. Good thing Mr. McDavid, Mr. Savior, comes and scores 30 seconds afterwards and ties the game up. And then Warren Foegele pops in goal number 2, makes it 2-1. If you didn't let that stinker of a goal in the first 30 seconds of the game, McDavid and Foegele scores, they would have been up 2-0 after the first period, and Vegas would have played way differently. They might have been impatient because they're falling behind 2-0. Then they might have been making bad plays or rushing the play, taking chances, and maybe taking penalties, and then giving the Oilers more power plays, and maybe even falling behind more, and then there's the game. Maybe Game 6 could have been the Oilers. They could have tied it up, move on to Game 7. Then it's do or die. But no, he starts Skinner, messes up in the first 30 seconds, and then he doesn't make any good saves in the second. And guess what? He gets pulled again, and Campbell gets put in the third period anyways. If you're going to play Campbell in this game when Skinner's not performing well, what's the point? Why didn't you start him in period 1? None of the above would have happened, I think. Maybe. Because Campbell doesn't play puck behind the net as much as Skinner. And the history has shown us, like Mike Smith, whenever he goes behind the net to play the puck, nothing good happens. Same with Skinner. He's not had a good track record playing the puck coming out of the net. He's made some terrible gaffes in the regular season. And you don't take these risks in the playoffs. You got defenders coming back, you can let them handle it, okay? So that looked very bad on Woodcroft's part. You let the wrong guy start, and then you got to pull him, and then you play the guy that you should have played at the beginning of the game. They just completely magnify his glaring mistake that to start Skinner was a huge mistake. So for 2 playoff years in a row, Woodcroft has made this big mistake in selecting his starting goalie. I really hope he can learn from this and finally know how to see both sides of the coin and make all considerations to start whichever goalie is more suited against the opponent, rather than riding one guy to the end and making him fatigued and letting the other team figure him out, finding his weaknesses, end up losing the series, getting booted out of the playoffs run. Connor McDavid and Draisaitl would not be happy about this situation, and Jay Woodcroft deserves to be on the hot seat for making this big bad choice. I mean, with his age, he's supposed to be in the age of analytics, not like Dave Tippett, the old school guys, to ride his favorite guys, to ride his old men, play as veterans, don't let the young guys play, or don't let the right guys play. If you see something is wrong, you should change, react immediately. Not keep using the same wrong tactics, same wrong personnel. Other team would probably just laugh at you. They'd say, oh, look at them, it's so easy to figure out. Just keep doing the same thing. They don't change. They don't adapt. All you gotta do is suppress McDavid and Draisaitl, and then the other guys can't score, and then we just score on their weak goalie that we figured out. We pop in 3 or 4 and they can't get any goals back, we win the series. And speaking of weak goalies, their starter, Laurent Brossoit, was the 3rd string guy, I think, or the 2nd string guy, whatever. He gets hurt in game 3, and then the Oilers had a clear advantage when they had to play the 4th string goalie, Adin Hill, who hadn't played a game since March 7th. That's what, 2 months ago? He hasn't started a game. So this guy's as cold as hell. You know, he wouldn't be like this superior goalie that you couldn't score on. All I had to do was throw everything at him except for the kitchen sink, continuously pepper this cold goalie with waves and waves of shots. Don't let him have any chances to adapt. Don't let him get his confidence. You know, just shoot. He'll try to make that save. He'll shoot again, you know. He won't have enough time to react, to figure you guys out. He lets a goal in, he lets 2 goals in, he lets 3 goals in. Bam, his confidence is gone. These are the playoffs. Confidence, mental strength, very important. You let in goals when you're in relief and your team looks down on you, or, you know, you feel bad because you're not saving your team. You're not going to get better. But what did the Oilers do? They took forever to shoot. They had to get this 100% perfect pass, perfect shot. Then they shot, and then guess what? It gets blocked because they're too slow. Evan Bouchard taking point shots with his Bouche bomb. What does he do? He takes that 1 second, half millisecond, whatever. He takes too long, he shoots, it gets blocked half the time. All that time setting up those passes, crisscross, bam, bam, triangular passes up to the point he shoots, it's blocked. All that work, all that setup, all that time wasted on a blocked shot. Why didn't you just shoot, you guys? You know, watching the series was so painful. You guys had so many opportunities to shoot. Take a shot at Adin Hill. Get him screwed, you know. Don't give him time to react. Don't give him time to train up, strengthen up. But they took too long. They gave up too many shooting opportunities for passes that didn't connect. Their passing was not very good at all. And guess what? After a game or 2, Adin Hill gets his confidence growing. He's this up-and-coming goaltender, he thinks. He can win the Stanley Cup. He's got all the confidence. And look at game 6, period 3. He makes all these huge saves that should have gone in. On Ekholm, on Nuge. Those shots should have gone in, and he makes those saves. And there goes the game and the series. Because the Fords chose not to shoot when they had the chance to shoot. I'm not sure if this is the coach's decision or the players' decisions. Getting everything perfect was not a 100% requirement. You got a 4th string goalie that's cold, that hasn't been playing for 2 months. You just take anything, you shoot anything at him. He's bound to let something weak go in. All these stars were aligned for Oilers' deep run to take the chance to win the Stanley Cup. You got a 4th string goalie playing against you in the playoffs, round 2. You got the President's Trophy Boston Bruins knocked out in the first round by 8th seed. The guys who took you out last year, Colorado Avalanche, they got taken out by the Kraken in the first round. They're gone. Your path is clear. Oh, all-Canadian matchup, Maple Leafs, high-power, core 4, pitted up against you. They're gone. They lost in round 2. They won 1 game. New York Rangers, Oh, Panarin, Kane, all these guys stacked their team. They lost in round one. All you had to do was win against Vegas, and you had Seattle or Dallas against you, and that you probably had a good chance to win. And then into the Stanley Cup Finals against either Florida or Carolina. But guess what? The coaches didn't see this. They didn't see such a good path. Let's play our rookie goaltender when he's not performing well. We'll ride him till he dies. Do or die, we're going to play him because he's my man. And there goes your playoff chances for 2023. Now you got to play another 82 games next year. Now you got to see if your job is still intact next year. Are you still the head coach? Do you still have the same players? Probably. But you got to change. You got to see what you did wrong last year and this year. And you can't make those mistakes again next year, especially in goaltending. Fire Dustin Schwartz, whatever. Get a new goaltender coach. This guy ain't doing his job. Goaltending has been a bad issue. You got the top 2 players in the world on your team. You got Evander Kane, Hyman, Nuge. You got all these 80+ point support players on your side. You're not doing the job. You're not going to get it done because your goaltending has a problem. If that doesn't get fixed, it's not going anywhere next year. Oh, and one more thing. Maybe this is in hindsight, but as the coach, as the management team, you see the playoffs are coming. You've got a rookie goaltender you've been riding for many months. He's been playing well. He brought your team here. But you've got to think, does he perform the same? Does he make the same saves? Can he perform the same in the playoffs versus the regular season? While you've got a $5 million starter that you signed for 5 years sitting on the bench. But he's played well in the playoffs in his past. Look at his records in Toronto when he played against Tampa. He brought them all the way to Game 7. If it wasn't for him, they wouldn't have gone to Game 7. They would have been eliminated in 5 or something. Why didn't you guys let him play more during the last month of the regular season? He started like 1 out of 4 or something. Strategy-wise, 1, you should have let Skinner play less to get more rest. 2, in case Skinner gets hurt in the playoffs, you should warm up Campbell more. You should let him play more in the regular season. Also, you can view what he can do, see if he has changed this game, if he's improved. If he's improved, now you wouldn't be in this situation in playoffs where we're like, oh, Skinner's not doing well, but we can't put in Campbell because I don't know what he's going to do. We can't trust him. That was your own fault that you couldn't trust him in the playoffs. Because you should have taken the last 10 or 20 games, let him play more, see his performance, see what he can do, and pit him against stronger opponents. So you can see if he can be your backup or you can be your second choice if Skinner fails in the playoffs. But instead you play him against Anaheim, play him against these weak teams. That really isn't a challenge for him. You can't really see what he's capable of in the playoffs. So to me, that was a failure on the coach's planning. They didn't have enough. They didn't see deep enough what they should have done in May. So Jay Woodcroft should be on the hot seat for these poor decisions made. I'm sure he won't be listening to what I'm saying right now, but I hope he can think of this by himself. He sees what the problem was, and he won't make these same mistakes next year. So, on to the final and most important issue that led to the downfall of the Oilers in this year's playoff run, the defense. Even though Mattias Ekholm joined the Oilers at the trade deadline, Tyson Barrie was swapped out. Ekholm was able to shore up the Oilers' defense and allow Evan Bouchard to play his offensive game while he stayed back at home and took out the opponents. During his time here in the last couple months, the Oilers' defense was much better. In the last 15 games, Oilers won 14 of those. It has limited the opponents to an average of 3 goals against or less. With that being said, the Oilers had high hopes of entering these playoffs. Due to the addition of Ekholm, the defense should have been much better than last year's. Barrie played the offensive game and was not too good back at home playing his defensive role. However, same old. The Achilles heel of the Edmonton Oilers is $9.25 million defenseman Darnell Nurse. He has proven once again he really deserves none of that $9 million salary. None of that. I don't know how he is called a top pairing or top defenseman in this league. Look at all the other guys that make $9 million and above for defensemen. Cale Makar, Dougie Hamilton, Roman Josi, Erik Karlsson. Erik Karlsson has 100+ points in a season as a defenseman. Roman Josi, tough as hell back in the back end, doesn't let anything through. Cale Makar, no need to talk about him. What in the world does Darnell Nurse do that earns him $9.25 million? I have no idea. He does not score, he has no offense, he doesn't make plays, he doesn't make defensive plays, he can't defend, he can't do anything. All he does ever is stand right in front of his own goalie, 1 foot away, especially on the penalty kill, blocks his own goalie's view, or else he gets in the way and gets the puck deflected off of him and into the net. Best thing he knows how to do? Snow Angel. Flat on his tummy, but 1 out of 10 times that's effective. The rest, he puts himself out of the play. 2-on-1 plays, whatever. The other guys always gets it across, and it's a goal. What does he do? Stand out of position, slide out of position, make a bad pinch, make a bad hit, puck follow, puck watching, doesn't mark the man that's empty or open. Just like Game 6. Look at him. 2 goals, but Jonathan Marchessault show. Wide open. Wide open. He's supposed to be the left defense, not the right defense. What's he doing? Both those Marchessault goals. Empty netters. Rebounds. The left flank is open. Nobody's marking the guy on the left. He's always out of position. And he's never improved year after year, especially after getting that $9 million salary, that new contract. He's been worse and worse. He's only been good for that 1 year when he was at $5.25 million or something like that. Going for his break, going for that career year to get that new contract, and then he's become shit. And then his partner, Cody Ceci. This is just a bad pairing. Board battles, they just can't win any board battles. They can't win any of them. You can feel a goal against coming once you see that board battle go on. If they could win that board battle, get the puck out, get it out of the zone, that's good, they're safe. But no, they never win those board battles that count. Puck always squirts in the center of the ice, they pass it around 2 times and bam, it's in the back of the Oilers net. Just because Nurse can play long minutes, like 24, 25 minutes a game, doesn't mean he's a good defender. Last year in the playoffs, at least he was a +4. He got 7 points, 6 assists, 1 goal. This year, no goals, 1 assist. -5. -5, Cody Ceci. In the series against Vegas, only in Game 4 was he a +1. Game 6, -2. Game 5, -1. Game 3, -3. Game 2, zip. That's not a good performance from a top pair guy. No offense, nor defense. Now back to the other guy. Back to Nurse, number 25. We can talk for 2 days about this guy and we'll be finished. Look at his stats. Same thing as his partner. 1 point, 1 freaking assist in 5 games against Vegas Golden Knights. -3 in 1 game. +1, -2, 0, -2. All minuses. Against LA, he was not very good. Against Vegas, he was terrible. To add insult to injury, what does he do at the end of a winning game? In Game 4, when they're winning like 4-1, 5-1 or whatever, he goes and jumps Nick Hague. For whatever reason. The guy picks a fight, yeah, you should fight him when he picks the fight. No, because Nurse has no brain. What does he do? He acts as instigator in the last few minutes of the game. He knows his rule, right? He gets suspended last year already. I think maybe he should review what rules can get him suspended that puts himself and puts his team in danger, especially in the playoffs. He doesn't learn anything. This guy seriously has no brain. How does he demand that $9 million contract? Does he know his team's defense is a major weakness? Like, there's already Desjardins, which is a rookie. He hasn't been playing good. They don't have enough top caliber defensemen already against a strong Vegas team, and he decides to pick a fight and grab someone from behind. I mean, you can argue that he's not the instigator because Nick Hague requested for fight, but not at that moment. And you guys know how the Zebras act. Zebras never favor the Oilers. They're always against the Oilers, right? Especially when things escalate to George Peros. Do you think he's going to help you out? No. Look what Pietrangelo got for suspension. 1 freaking game. He came out of nowhere, not a hockey play, lifted his stick all the way up and slashes Draisaitl right in the arm. That's intent to injure, not a hockey play. And what's he get? 1 freaking day, 1 game of suspension. So even 1 game, that's supposed to work in the Oilers' favor, right? One of the top D are gone, you know. Maybe it's a good opportunity for the Oilers to take Game 5, you know, as a security. So why not take advantage? But no, let's not take advantage. Let's put ourselves down. Let's put ourselves down 1 man. Our top D-man, so-called top D-man. Idiotic play. No need to fight. You know, Draisaitl, he signaled to everybody. He's okay. Don't do anything stupid. Don't put yourself out of the game. Don't take a penalty, nothing. He doesn't listen. Darnell Nurse doesn't listen. He does whatever he wants to do because he's a bonehead. He has no brain. He doesn't think about the consequences, doesn't think about his team. He just wants to instigate that fight because he's been having it with Nick Hague. He doesn't feel well. He thinks he has to take him out during this game, this winning game. What the hell, man? And how does this affect next game? It doesn't affect next game because he's a good player, then they need him desperately. I mean, maybe he shouldn't even have played game 6. Maybe the Oilers would have won. But what did this suspension lead to? It led to Philip Broberg, another raw rookie, having to play way out of his league, and then ends up taking 2 penalties. The second one, which was not a penalty because the ref couldn't see anything because he was 100 feet away. But, you know, it's a gift. It's a gift to the Vegas Golden Knights. And upon taking this penalty, Matthias Janmark takes a stupid high sticking to Jack Eichel. Then it becomes a 5-on-3. And then the Oilers' 2-1 winning game. Chance to take game 5, take the series lead, folds over. The game completely changes direction. They can't hold the fort on this 5-on-3, and then on the 5-on-4 they still can't defend the power play, and then they let another one in. The game is now in the favor of the Vegas Golden Knights in a matter of 60 seconds. 30 seconds later, they let another cheap goal. That is the downfall of the Oilers' season in that 90-second span. If they could have been able to keep that 2-1 lead, maybe put a few more goals in, play a good defensive game, they would have taken the game 5, 3-2 instead. Even if they lose game 6, they have another chance in game 7. But nope, they put themselves out of it. Nurse puts his team out of it. He should take full responsibility. I mean, he should really reflect on his actions, on his play. He should think about why he gets $9.25 million and should do something about that. I mean, if he's gone, that $9.25 million can do lots, can do wonders for the Oilers team. They can get a $6 million defenseman that's like stay at home, rock solid, and then they still have $3 million left for improving the forward core. It's so ironic. Why they pay him $9.25 million? So he can stay here, lock him up, and then eventually try to lock up Draisaitl and McDavid because all 3 of them are buddies, so they can play together, so the core stays intact. But you know what? As long as this guy's here, this Nurse guy is here, they're not gonna win. Number 1, he takes up way too much cap space, and he performs way less than his cap hit. Number 2, his play is like terrible. His play is negative. It negatively impacts the team. From his interviews, what he says doesn't reflect anything that he thinks he's doing something wrong. Doesn't seem like he's going to improve. Doesn't seem like he's going to learn. So I think that's the end of it for Nurse. He has to go, but nobody's going to take him because he costs way too much and he doesn't play well. So this ironic tale that he has to stay in order for McDavid to stay and Draisaitl to stay so the Oilers can win, but the Oilers cannot win as long as he is here. I mean, why did they have to play a raw rookie in Desjardins? I mean, he's big. He's like a wall, a human wall. He can take out the other guys. He can hit. But he's slow. He gets exploited. Look at all those mistakes he made against LA. All those big shot cameras of him making stupid mistakes and then leads to a goal against. Why do we have to play this guy in the playoffs? Because there's no cap hit left to hire a better guy. There's no cap hit to hire a veteran that's $3 million, $4 million that can perform, that has experience. Because Nurse has taken up way too much cap hit that he's not supposed to earn. He was never worth $9.25 million. In my opinion, $6 million is like max. Why does he demand that? How does he demand that? He's not spectacular. He is like terrible in my opinion. So I don't know. I don't get this. If we want to talk about the other guys, Bouchard, he was contributing very well offensively. Defensively, he had some lapses, but not as glaring as Nurse's. I mean, that trip when he tried to go backwards against Eichel, that was ugly. But that was a skating or ice or whatever equipment. You can't blame that. He didn't mean to fall. I mean, I don't think anybody wants to fall backwards in front of an 18,000 person crowd. But he did make some offensive errors, in my opinion, that he shot the puck way too slow. He took too much time to aim. He had good chances to shoot it right away. I mean, you got to be quick in this league to win, to score, catch the goalie, catch the other guys off guard. But no, he takes like 2 or 3 seconds to aim or whatever, and then the other guys know exactly where the puck is going. Most of the time, the pucks he shoots, those big boosh bombs, get blocked, and then it ends up bouncing all the way back to the Oilers' end. They gotta go retrieve it. So all that work, all that offensive ozone time was for naught, just wasting their own energy, passing it around, not shooting, not taking advantage of a 4th-string goalie in Aiden Hill, and then letting him get his confidence up, let him get his saves, get his training back up, and then you know what? Before you know it, the series is already finished, and you're packing to go to the golf course. You gotta wait 4 months. You gotta train. You gotta endure. You gotta think about, wow, what happened? We were destined to go to the finals or whatever. Everybody thought to make a long run, but nope. It falls short. The report card is worse than last year's. Actually, this is a very disappointing playoff run. Last year was exciting, watching them beat the Flames in 5-4-1, kicking ass. They got swept by Colorado, but it didn't look so ugly as this time. So really, they have got to take this year's lessons, this year's experience, all the errors they made on the coach, on the players, Darnell and Nurse. They've got to learn from this. They've got to see, they got to think what the new strategy is to prevent this, to dominate where they're exposed to, and then not expose themselves as much. The general manager, whoever this might be in this coming off season, really should think about changing up the personnel in the defense corps. Cody CC should be gone. Nurse, he won't be going anywhere. Nobody's gonna take him. So he'll have to do some cap gymnastics to get a better and upgraded defense corps, which is much needed. Because if you don't improve here, no matter how many goals Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl or Evander Kane scores, it's gonna be countered by the other team. They'll score more than you because you can't defend. And game over, and the loop continues. And those rumors about Leon Draisaitl and McDavid wanting to leave, wanting out of Edmonton, might become reality. Anyways, that's all we're gonna talk about tonight. Thank you everybody for listening to this long analysis and rant. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope my words are heard by the hockey gourds, and maybe they can pass it on to the coaching staff or whatever of the Edmonton Oilers, and they can make the necessary adjustments. Thank you all. Hope you guys liked the video. Please subscribe, like, and share. And please stay tuned for the next one. Thank you. Goodbye.